And welcome to the Travel Breakout, how artificial intelligence is reshaping the travel experience from planning to landing. My name is Bob Quick. I've been with AWS about 2.5 years. I'm the head of airports and ground transportation. Before joining AWS, I spent about 20 years working in the travel industry, airports, airlines, and travel technology. I'm part of the AWS for Travel and Hospitality team. Our team has expertise in airports, airlines, ground transportation, restaurants, accommodation and lodging, casinos, and cruise lines. And we provide guidance to our travel and hospitality customers. And we help develop industry solutions. And we also identify partners who can help our customers on their digital transformation journey. Partners with experience and expertise in travel and hospitality that can help our customers reinvent the travel experience. Travel has been built on innovation. And in fact, flight itself has been seen as a symbol of humanity's inventiveness and creativity. And when you think about inventions and innovations, very often you get this kind of cascading effect where multiple inventions come together to solve really big problems. And a great example of that is the invention of Parrot Flight in 1903, where the Wright brothers, on their journey to inventing the Wright Flyer, they had to invent lots of things, like the wind tunnel and wing warping. And wing warping is the twisting of the edges of the wings in opposite direction to control flight. And then once the Wright brothers invented the Wright Flyer, we had to invent so much more, like airports and airlines and travel agencies. And that spirit of innovation continues today. A real nice example is the invention of the QR code. And once we invented the QR code, we needed to invent standards for the QR code to be used for travel. And with that, we could put the QR code on the boarding pass, and that allowed us to invent things like self-service boarding and other self-service operations in the airport. And then we invented putting the boarding pass itself on the mobile phone to make travel even easier. Just a quick poll, how many people here, when they came, used a boarding pass on their mobile phone? Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Folks, this is a tech conference, so next year I want to see all hands up for using your mobile boarding pass. But when you think about your own journey, there's a multitude of systems and technologies that take place in the airport in order to facilitate travel. And considering there's almost 100,000 flights every day, it all works pretty smoothly. But sometimes it doesn't. And even when things don't work well, the most common complaint that I hear from people, and if you think about your own experience, the complaint you most often feel is, I wish I'd known. Like, I wish I'd known the line on the other side of the terminal was shorter. Or I wish I'd known how long it was going to take me to get through security. And you also think, I wish the airport or the airline had known. You want those organizations also to have that situation awareness so that they can do things like forecast the length of the queue and balance the queue between different parts of the facilities. As a modern traveler, we want and we expect to have real-time information on our journey. But airports are complex operations with multiple systems and organizations working across the globe. And in order to have that real-time, personalized information, we need to use artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence, I think it's fair to say, has captured the imagination of all of us in this room, and I think a lot of people outside the room. And we've already seen the cascading effect of innovation in artificial intelligence. For example, we've seen the invention of Amazon Alexa and computer vision, and of course, generative AI. And we have seen from surveys that industry leaders in travel and hospitality really believe in the power of artificial intelligence to improve their operations and improve the travel experience. And we have lots of organizations who are already getting started, as we've seen today during the announcements over reInvent, getting started using artificial intelligence. And today we're going to hear from two industry leaders on how they're using artificial intelligence to improve the passenger experience and improve operations. Manchester Airport Group is the largest UK-owned airport operator, operating Manchester, Stansted, and East Midlands Airport. In my career, I've had the pleasure of working with Manchester Airport many times, and I've seen firsthand how they use technology to improve operations and improve the experience. I've also personally flown through the airport many times for business and pleasure, and I've experienced how those technology investments then translate to a better experience for me as a passenger. TUI Group is one of the largest travel organizations in the world. They have thousands of travel agencies. They have their own cruise ships, they have their own hotels, and they have their own aircraft. I've also personally experienced the seamless TUI vacation, going to Cancun, Mexico on a family holiday, and we all flew in a TUI Dreamliner and stayed in an all-inclusive TUI hotel. My kids were amazed that the hotel had its own branded aircraft. So today, we're first going to hear from Mark Jennings, CIO of Analytics and Artificial Intelligence and Customer Experience at TUI.
Thank you very much, Bob. Thank you. So yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming and attending and listening to what we have to say. So I'm going to take you through some of the experiences we have in modernizing our business, how we're working with AWS and how they're helping to shape our future, and how they're helping us to use AI to develop a better travel experience, products and services for our customers and for our colleagues. So a little bit about the company that I work for. So TUI, as Bob explained, we're one of the largest leisure travel organizations in the world. We operate over more than 16 cruise ships now. We have approximately 480 of our own hotels. We have an extensive in-resort destination service around the world, and we take over 20 million customers on holiday every year. Our ambition is to deliver great experiences to our customers, and we're continuing to grow and build our customer base. At the same time we want to do that, we want to deliver a better experience and a better service, and we want to do more and make sure that the products and the services and the portfolio is extensively grown. So if our business is trying to modernize and expand and grow, how is technology playing its role in supporting the business on its journey? So if we wind back 7 or 8 years, we identified that technology needed to develop, needs to modernize, and we needed a strategy that we needed to execute. Our strategy was a simple acronym that we have, so it's ABCDS. So we needed API, we needed to exploit big data, we wanted to move to the cloud. We also needed our DevOps to have a faster life cycle and the ability to implement much quicker. And lastly, S was around security. We absolutely want to have a security-first approach, protecting our customers' data and our colleagues' data. So what did we do? So we reached out, we worked with AWS, we partnered with them, and they helped us in our very first migration to the cloud, and that was some of our web stack. And that was very successful. And that gave us the confidence that we had supported or we had engaged with the right partner on our journey. And it also gave us the confidence to be bold as a business and to overcome some of the skepticisms that we had at the time about moving away from on-prem to the cloud. And without moving to the cloud, all the other things as part of our tech strategy, we wouldn't have been able to do. It was the one thing that has helped us to unlock and modernize our environment. As we've moved then over the years, over the last 7 to 8 years, we've constantly reinvented, we've looked to accelerate our development, and we're now in that period where we're a much more mature organization working in the cloud and the product set, but there's still more that we can do. So what is the next step? What is the latest thing that has helped us that is going to help us to be better, going to help us to be faster, going to help us to be more effective and efficient? Well, we absolutely understand that generative AI, or AI in its broader sense, that does incorporate machine learning and data science. We believe that there are huge opportunities throughout the whole customer and colleague life cycle, all the way from planning and inspiring someone when they're looking for a holiday, all the way to post-booking, where you're getting a CSQ or customer survey back. We can identify a number of initiatives and capabilities that we can significantly improve. So what does this mean, or what's the approach we've taken? So working with our board, there are some top initiatives. So the top 10 initiatives. These are big, complex change activities. They require lots of resource. They require significant decision-making via senior stakeholders. These things are being pushed top-down and people brought on the journey. But generative AI and AI is such a broad, there's such democratization of the capabilities that are available, and it's moving so fast. So as a business, we don't want to just have top-down ideas, initiatives pushed through. We need to bubble stuff up from the bottom. And so to that extent, we are rolling out an extensive set of processes where we can engage and get feedback from people right across the business around the ideas and innovations and the things that they believe that they can change. We do that. We are taking their ideas. Then we are running very fast proof of concepts. And then we're looking at, so we have a top-down and bottom-up approach. And together that will make us that will deliver a very powerful set of outcomes and it will leave no stone unturned in our ability to deliver change. And as a business, we want our cake and eat it. We do want to be bigger. We want more passengers. We want more revenue. At the same time, we want to drive down costs and be more effective. Can you have both? We believe GenAI is the first thing that will really enable us to develop that change. So where have we come from? So like many organizations, we have grown up through a series of acquisitions and mergers. We have many different systems that were old. Data was disjointed. Nothing was joined up. The definition of a booking wasn't the same. The definition of a margin was all historically not aligned. This meant you cannot exploit that. However, over time, we've managed to overcome some of these challenges, and that's helped us to certainly reduce some of our costs. It helps us to go faster, but this isn't enough. We need to do more. We need to be better. Partnering AWS and using the new technology will help us do more. So if we've overcome some of the challenges today, what is our future focus? What are the key things that we want to do in terms of exploiting that data and exploiting our systems? So if there's one thing that we knew we learned from COVID, it was that we are nothing without our customers. So whilst we thought we may have been exploiting our customer data and engaging with them very well before COVID, I think what we understood is we needed to double down on our efforts. So we needed to better harmonize and source this customer data. We needed to do more with it. We needed to, we needed to understand we need to have a better set of goals and targets for what we were going to do with data. We also needed to encourage our users and our business people to exploit and self-serve with that data to make better decisions. And lastly, how do we personalize? We have all this data. If we're sourcing it, if we're encouraging people to use it, what does that mean? Well, we want to take the data and we want to use it to turn it into personalized offers and experiences that our customers will enjoy. So what is the first thing? What is the next thing we have done recently? So in the last 6 months, we have started to implement, or we have built, our first foundational platform, which we have entitled the Intuitive Platform, the AI platform. So if we wind back again, what were the challenges or things that we needed to tackle as a leadership team and as a data science and machine learning and AI team? So the first thing is that whilst we started to have a set of new tools, a set of new ambitions, a set of new objectives, we didn't actually necessarily have all the skills to be able to exploit the capabilities that were out there. So what did we need to do? We needed to recruit, we needed to train up, we needed to get the right people so we could match the tools and the skill sets to be able to exploit the technology that was available. We didn't have a platform. We were trying many different things at the time. This led to us not being focused, not being able to exploit any particular one platform or technology that we were trying to use. So we have overcome that, hence the Intuitive Platform. And lastly, we needed to exploit real-time data. So we're very good with capturing batch offline data, but being able to source online data, then we could be able to do much more and be much more powerful in the capabilities and the outcomes for our customers. So we've done that. So what did we do? We partnered AWS, and we have exploited their platform. The model you see here is a pretty standard model. You have your data sources, your pipelines, your feature engineering store, all of this stuff. It's very standard. Of the things I would call out that we focused on, particularly that we were very keen to make sure that we maximized. So how do we source data? And then experiments. So very key for us that we're able to demonstrate to ourselves and to our colleagues within the business that as we roll out new pieces of work, new initiatives, there's a benefit. So making sure we had a baseline set of results and then being able to measure every test that we did. We wanted to do this as quickly as possible, monitoring stuff, getting feedback, learning. That cycle continues endlessly. So the products that we actually chose in the end, and we've focused and doubled down on, are Amazon SagesMaker and Personalize. Using these products and this tool set's given us a framework and a set of products that now means that our data scientists and our engineers, they can focus on building stuff. They can focus on testing. And it has enabled us, not just my words, I'll back to show you some data. These are the things that we've actually been able to demonstrate with facts and figures in terms of how we have got better as an engineering team, as a technology team, as a business team. So we are now much faster in terms of the things that we can execute. So previously, going from having an initial idea for a model to it being built, as it were, it's about 120 days. We are now significantly faster. We can see that 3 times faster, so approximately 40 days on average. In terms of the output, we have now been much more, in the same time period, where we might have only have 3 models, not just built, but actually deployed, we have now significantly grown that. You can see the numbers. In a similar time period, we have 15 models live, and we've actually built 31 models that are being tested, developed, ready for deployment. And in terms of upskilling and right-skilling the people that we need. Previously, because those people weren't in the right team, we had lots of handoffs. This again became unproductive. So by getting the right people with the right skills sets in the right teams, they become much more self-dependent or self-sufficient. Therefore, we have less handoffs, and again, we can go much faster. Been a very good, successful story. But if that's the tech side, how we deployed this. So we're using it in our web personalization, and the models that we are built are helping us to deliver and improve our customers' online experience and do this with real-time interfaces and updates. The products that we're focused on, they're not necessarily new. So recommenders, these things have been around for a while. In fact, we've been using a third-party hotel recommender for a number of years. But we've now been able to build some of these products ourselves. We've got them live, and we have a number of new things in the pipeline. So our hotel and room upgrades I will touch on. I'll give you some feedback. Image personalization, the trip advisors. These are all things that help us deliver the right product to the right customer at the right time. So if I said we had a third-party product that we were using before, our first challenge or the first task that the data science and an AI team took on was to map or to match and better what the third-party product could do, and do that at a lower cost. Again, very successful. They have driven through in terms of the upclicks and the click-throughs. So it's a much better output, delivering much more benefit, because these things will turn into bookings. And the fact that we're now in control of the code, the algorithm, we're now much more confident, and if you can see from the numbers on the slide, that our original business case, we believe we will outperform it by 11 times our original business case, which is a fantastic result and something I've never heard of at TUI. It's an amazing result. And again, that's down to the team, the platform, the experience, the learnings, the optimization. Being able to do that quickly and effectively and iterate, it's excellent news. The same approach with our room upgrade model. So this, again, is delivering increased upgrades and bookings. We do this by showcasing the best products to the right person at the right time. Again, we're getting more upgrades that are booked now, and we're getting, again, a better click-through and conversion rate. This one, not quite the 11 times improvement on the business case, so maybe the team have some work to do, but again, it's a very positive story, and again, it frees up our team not to just continue to develop this, they can now work on new products rather than being stuck, continue iterating this to get to a point in time where it's as good as the business case. So what was our experience before? Like many things, in terms of room upgrades, we had many options that we were offering to our customer. This would obviously lead to confusion and indecision. So what did we need to do? Simple changes, highlights, messaging needed to be improved, the UX, but also reducing the number of options by understanding the customer, the segment, their party size, their party composition, their preferences, and then being able to surface that up to the customer at the right time during the booking process. So giving them a little nudge to the right product, that has been very successful. More bookings, more profit, happier customers. It's a great success story. So if we talk about delivering the right message, if we're doing the right product to the right customer at the right time, the last thing is the right message. So the next initiative that we have worked very closely with AWS is about improving our content and our SEO. And the product that we have been able to exploit working with the Amazon prototyping team is to get experience of Bedrock. And our key objective is, as we are scaling out, as we want to offer more hotels and more products to our customers, how can we scale up the production of content at TUI? TUI has many different brands, many different customer segments, and we have very strict editorial and content guidelines. That meant this to date or previously, there are manual processes that we used and manual content generation to hit the extremely high standards within editorial guidelines. So our objective was to demonstrate that we could use technology and AI to both automate it and scale it and deliver to the same level of standards and quality that our customers that our colleagues expected. We also wanted insights into how much this was cost, how much we could scale it, and how fast we could go. By using Bedrock, we are able to do this in an environment that's safe, secure, where we can use our own data, and also with a partner that can help train and upskill us. So what are the building blocks within the process around content and SEO? Naturally, as always, you have to source the data at the beginning. You have to, what's going to input into your process. Very simple, again, pretty standard approach to AI. So we started with the prompt engineering. So Clearly, we didn't jump straight into fine-tuning. The first thing we always do in this space is, can we solve the problem using prompt engineering? We did that, get the output, it would then generate hotel descriptions. We would then also check that against some SEO rankings and scores. We would evaluate it, and we would repeat and repeat and repeat. So the feedback and learnings on how the content was generated would be provided by our content team. The SEO scores and rankings we would get by querying out to search metrics and getting a ranking score. This iteration we would then store in a Dynamo database where we could retrieve it and check the data. It would also enable the customer team to add comments. So if things weren't quite right, we could then use that to repeat back into our learning cycle. As it happens, the prompt engineering on its own didn't quite meet the tone of voice standards that the content team was suggesting were needed to deliver the right message to the right customers at the right time for the right product. So therefore, we decided that we needed to use a fine-tune model, a model that would be able to fine-tune to be able to better deliver the right tone of voice. That was the key learning that we understood here. So what did we learn from that? So actually, the winning model, so we tried and evaluated many models that Bedrock's offer us, different sizes, different configurations of models. And we found that the winning set was to use 2 large language models. So that was Llama 2 to do the fine-tuning of content, and then Claude 2 to be able to deliver the right formatting of the output and the descriptions. Llama 2 was hosted on SageMaker, and then Claude 2 was accessed from Amazon Bedrock services via an API. We were able to automate this, so all the content generation was automated when we used step functions to manage the controls of the calls. We then also do the call out to the API for the SEO scores. This was great. So we proved that we could do it. The content that we generated, we did a blind test with our content team. The quality of the content that we generated automatically through Bedrock and the products was of the same quality that the content team had written themselves. So we did blind scoring. We didn't tell them this was content they'd written. This was content that the automated system had proven. It was of the same. When we took then the output of the automated content through Bedrock and the services and large language models, we proved that we had a 4% uplift in our SEO ranking. Again, a positive output. And then the other thing is when today we have to create a hotel description page, it takes about 8 hours to do. Once we have a trained model, we can do this now in less than 10 seconds. And the training of the model that we built is cost tens of dollars. So the output is more cost effective, it's to the same quality and standard, and it's also much quicker. Again, it's brilliant news, and again, it's been a great set of learnings that we've had. So if I could look forward, if there were some 4 takeaways for you. So the first thing that I would recommend is training and skilling your people. And that's not just technology people, it's people across the business. Educate them around AI, the opportunities that it offers, and then also give them the tools, give them the skills to do the job, and help them on their journey. They're not going to get it right first time. Let them learn and encourage them. Pick a partner and work intensively for them. There's lots of focus, lots of things happening. We've chosen AWS, and very successful stories so far. Measure and monitor everything you do. So change, this is a period of huge change. Some people may be resistant to it. Let's use facts and figures and evidence to help justify the great work that you do when you do it, but also in any difficult conversations you may have to overcome any resistance to change. And then lastly, celebrate success. So the world is changing so rapidly. Gen AI, there's a new release every week. There will always be the next best thing to do. So don't wait. Crack on with the things you need to do. Stop talking, get stuff done, and celebrate those wins that you have. It is going to be a difficult and bumpy ride, probably for some of us on the journey. But yeah, make the most of it and have fun. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. That was awesome. When people ask me what artificial intelligence is, I'll often say it's like having the ideal human expert help you perform a task. An expert who understands your needs, understands all the information that's available, and presents the answer in a format that you can understand. And we got 2 really great examples of that from Mark, using Amazon SageMaker to present the options to you to upgrade your hotel room that is personalized to your needs in a way that's easy to understand. And then using Amazon Bedrock to create the descriptions of the hotel property in a way that customers and the organization requires. So we've booked our last-minute vacation. We're all going to go to the airport now, and we're going to hear from Nick Woods, CIO of Manchester Airport Group, on how he's using artificial intelligence to improve operations and the passenger experience. And we're going to start with the video, if it plays.
TOM 2325 is on approach. Prepare for arrival.
Received. Automated approach arrivals routine activated. TOM 2325. Approach vector optimized using time-based separation technology. Welcome to Manchester. Please follow the green lights to stand 107.
We essentially have about 7,000 people that work for the business, but operating and working on our campuses, it's about 40,000 people. So it's a big old operation that you have the opportunity to optimize and to think about. And when you really think about aviation and what it's doing, it's about how do you get aircraft into little boxes in the sky as efficiently as possible to get them to their destination. It's just a big data problem. It's just thinking about these things in ways that actually how do we understand what's going on and optimize them as we go through. And that's what gets me really excited about thinking how we do this. We've just relaunched our corporate strategy. And we're really centering around 3 core things that we're looking at in our mission to essentially be the number one choice for our customers and for our airlines that want to fly from our facilities. Number 1 is all about delivering a world-class customer service and doing that through a way that we're operationally excellent in everything that we do. Secondly, it's about being able to sustainably grow our airports, and through that transformation program, over the next 5 years, we aim to deliver about £120 million worth of value into the business from essentially reimagining what we do, through digitizing what we do, and through transforming it, and AI will play a big role in helping us to make that happen. And thirdly, we were a founding member of the Jet Zero Council in the UK, essentially looking at how do we decarbonise aviation. We've set an ambitious target for ourselves to be net zero by 2038, and we're the first airports in the UK to be carbon neutral. So there's a lot of thinking going on around how do we do that real decarbonisation drive, how do we drive energy efficiency. And it was great seeing yesterday in the sustainability section over at the Venetian, some of the ideas that were coming around smart cities and things like that is similar to the things that we're thinking on and working on today. So they're the kind of things that as a business are driving us forwards. And then how do we translate that into technology? So I will be next week relaunching my tech strategy to our teams. I took it to EXCO, to our executive committee a couple of weeks ago. And really, we're building our mission around being the world's most intelligent airports, about digitizing our operations, around getting real good handle on what is going on, having a single version of our operating plan that is continually optimized and updated through artificial intelligence and made available to anyone who needs that at the right time to really go and drive the efficiency and the value back into the operation. It's about personalizing journeys for our passengers and for our airlines as well. Thinking about how do we better understand their needs, provide differentiated products and services to them, and deliver a much better experience as people come through. And in that, we're thinking about things like virtual queue scenarios. We're thinking about personalized products and services that customers want to engage with and consume from us. And it's about smart infrastructure. It's about, again, better understanding our buildings, our assets, our energy management, and being able to control them in a very dynamic way. The video that I showed at the start was really starting to think about and kind of inspired by really the amount of Alexa devices that I've got at home that my wife absolutely hates. But have got the good morning routine that turns on the lights, turns on the coffee machine, opens the blinds. How do we actually bring some of that simplicity around driving automation and routines into the airport environment from what's historically been very siloed processes with different people who don't really communicate to each other? It's very hard on multiple systems to go and automate and think that through. Through what we're building a way to bring that together and make it easy for us to go and really drive that level of efficiency and automation into the environments. We've been on a journey of product management for the last 2 years now. So we essentially think about 2 core flows. We think about the passenger journey. Passenger will turn up in their car, they'll go through a series of products, check-in, security, the departure lounge boarding, and back the other way through immigration and out of the building. And the aircraft does exactly the same. It comes in, out the sky, lands, taxis through our aprons, parks, does a turnaround process, and then flies off again. And if we think about those 2 journeys, and we think about the products that we discretely within them and how we optimize them, link them together to drive an end-to-end overall efficiency and flow, that is how we're starting to deliver a lot more capacity from without having to spend money on, significant new terminals and runways and infrastructure. We're doing that as well because we see the opportunity in doing it. But actually, by driving this thing, we get far more value out of what we're doing. So our approach, this is our intelligent airport architecture. And really, it's about building proper event-driven, all-knowing, all-sensing systems right the way across our airport operations that have that operational plan that we've built. We start 360 days out, but continually evolve and update right the way through to the day of operation and the aircraft actually leaving and taking off from our facilities. Having sensor technology in understanding the radars, understanding what's happening from our car parks, using computer vision to think about how we turn the aircraft around and are the aircraft on time and performing the way they need to be. Feeding all of that sensor technology into our planning systems, which are all driven by artificial intelligence, to continually optimize. If you think about the sheer number of moving parts that are happening across an airport on a daily basis, you're taking tens of thousands of events and messages every hour and thinking and feeding those into your AI engines to just continually think, am I parked at the right stand? Can I move this to somewhere else? Is there an aircraft pushing back slightly late? We talk about turning an aircraft or talk about an airport day a little bit like a Formula One race. I know the F1 was in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago. It was great watching it. But actually, it's the same kind of principle at an airport. You have a plan for that Formula One race, and as soon as the cars hit the first corner, all those plans are out the window because the cars are in a different position and you're constantly evolving and replanning it. It's exactly the same in that airport environment. As soon as that first aircraft is slightly late or slightly pushes back off stand slightly late, you're constantly having to replan and optimize it. And today, that's done in a series of silos, or historically it's been done in a series of silos by humans in the tower or humans in the operational control centers or people in the security halls, trying to react and understand what's going on from the little limited visibility that they've got of their world. But as we bring all of these systems together, as we start bringing in a proper overview of everything that's happening and have one version of the plan that's fed from all those individual places, that's what's allowing us to really go and dynamically optimize and automate that process so that we can be much more efficient, delivering much better services and experiences for our passengers. Planes leave on time more frequently, but also much better efficiency for our airlines as well. So they want to engage with us and more fly from our terminals. I'll give you some examples of some of the things that we've been then using that for. So I listened to John Hurley speak yesterday, who is the CTO for Ryanair. So Ryanair fly extensively from Manchester, Stansted and East Midlands. And we partnered with the Ryanair team really well. And actually it was set up and provisioned through the AWS team because we're both big consumers of AWS products and services. And we've used that event-driven system to better start taking data from what is happening on the ground and feed them dynamically into Ryanair systems and directly into their customers' app. We have about 500 flights a day flying from our terminals, tens of thousands of passengers, all on Ryanair flights. And what we've been able to do by that is remove, someone's job used to be to take the latest information and rekey it into the Ryanair systems by literally screen scraping what was going on. We've fully removed all of that and automated it. We've been able to much better provide accurate information for passengers across their digital channels that they're getting from the airline, across the screens that we are presenting inside of the terminal facilities, and through what we're presenting through our own websites and through people talking on the ground in terms of asking questions of our staff. Passengers are now getting a much more consistent message. And what we're working on now is being able to extend that with much more information, both from ourselves to drive Ryanair's operational efficiency, but that they're starting to provide back to us as soon as an aircraft is going to be a little bit late or something else. We know about it before it pops out, and we can actually do something about it to be much more proactive about it. So that partnership is working really, really well. The next one that we're working on is about version 360, where we're using AWS Panorama devices integrated initially into our CCTV platform to be able to take events and build algorithms around them to identify things that are happening across the airport. So whether that is that the airport aircraft has docked, and you saw some of this at the start, the aircraft has docked on stand, whether the cleaning facilities have happened, whether the bags have come off yet, feeding all to our standing gate allocation to understand, is that aircraft going to leave the stand at the time that we think it is? And if it is going to leave the stand at the time we think, or it isn't going to leave the stand, what do we do about it? What's the next best stand that we want to go and allocate that to? We've been working with the AWS professional services team around this and our own internal engineering teams to start developing those algorithms. And we're having a real success now at actually being able to detect things very, very quickly and for relatively low cost. We could go and buy some of this stuff off the shelf today, but they're built on older technologies, and we think that we can probably deliver this for a fifth of the cost by doing it ourselves, by building and using the latest technologies that AWS are providing to us to be able to go and make it happen properly. Off the back of that, we're then also starting to think about what other sensor technology can we go and feed into that. So we're now starting to feed into things like the ground power units that are charging the planes. We're now starting to feed into things like the runway lighting system so that we can actually dynamically route aircraft to the gate the right way. And again, it's by having this sensor technology, it's by having the AI to go and optimize it, to think about the best routes in there, to allow us to actually go and really drive value into the airport. Over the next 3 to 5 years, we believe that just from delivering better data, better insight, and better planning, we can deliver about 15 additional based aircraft from Manchester and Stansted with a value to us in the region of £30 million. Just from actually optimizing what we're doing today. We don't have to build any new stands, we don't have to build any new terminals to go and make that happen. It's about using that big data, using artificial intelligence to really go and drive the optimization and to really increase the capacity of our airfields without having to do any significant building works to go and make that happen. We're then also looking at how do we give this information back to our businesses and make sure that they can get the information, or the staff working at our airports and get the information that they need to be able to go and make this happen. In Stansted, we have a train line that brings in about 50% of the passengers to that airline, into the airport. It's essentially a single track, one way in, one way out. And if they have any problems on that line, which they do frequently, that can cause a massive cascade impact into how passengers are turning up at the terminals and therefore how they're flowing through that end-to-end journey into our facilities and into our security halls and onwards. So we're now starting to actually track that by integrating into the rail service and the rail companies, and we're feeding that into our planning engines to be able to say, we'd expected in this 15-minute period X number of passengers to arrive. We know because we've seen a problem on the train lines that that's not going to happen. So we're constantly replanning and thinking about, right, okay, we think it's going to be a 20-minute delay before we're seeing that surge. How do we deploy and send people on their breaks now to make sure that they actually get their downtime to be able to prepare for the passengers that are going to be coming through in the next 15, 20 minutes or so? And what you're starting to see is that these things never happened in the past because they didn't have the insight and the visibility. They were just continue to go against the plan that they already had for their schedules, for their rosters, and for everything else. And actually, when the passengers turned up, everyone was on breaks and things like that. So we're really, really starting to drive that efficiency into our operation from being able to take all of this data in. If you also think about what happens in that environment, in a security hall, you've got X-ray machines provided by one company, you've got body scanners provided by somebody else, you've got passenger flow technology looking at how big your queue is and what your queue times are for it, you've got a different set of systems that is looking at your roster and your timing for it. Through the event-driven platform that we're building, we're able to start bringing all of that data together And instead of having, the dashboard that's provided by the X-ray provider on one screen and another dashboard provided by the body scanner person, we're aggregating all of that data together in real time to be able to give us the real throughput information that we need in one place, and a really easy digestible thing for our operations to be able to do it. And we've seen significant uplifts in terms of efficiency of those operations. We've seen significant uplifts in the NPS scores that we're seeing for passengers actually queuing in those environments and going through them. And overall, it's creating a much better experience for everyone operating at the facilities. We know that happy passengers that are less stressed are more likely to get into our departure lounges and spend more money because they're comfortable, they're in good space, and we know that they're not stressed out as they go through it. So while this stuff is brilliant from us from an operational perspective, it has a real material impact on the bottom line as well in terms of actually being able to prove the correlation between a good experience in those security halls, which, let's face it, they're there to make sure that bombs don't get on planes and knives don't get on planes. That's their core function. But actually, by using the right information to deliver great experiences for passengers that are going through them, we know that actually they have a much better experience in the departure halls and are more likely to drive better revenues for us as well. So there's a huge amount of work going on in this space. One of the challenges that we have had historically is we were using different systems to provide real-time data and to provide batch data for after the event. And the reality of having business logic in two different places around that meant that you'd always see inconsistencies around the actual numbers that were coming out when you actually looked at them in retrospect, which led to mistrust by the operation in the data that we were producing. Because of the advances now that we're seeing in the speed and pace that things like S3 can handle in the AWS environments, we're moving all of our business logic into a single data pipeline, whether it's for real-time services or whether it's for batch services. We're bringing all of that stuff together. So no matter when you look at the data, it always looks consistent. And again, that's had a real trust uplift for us in terms of the results that we're seeing from it. So the data teams are doing brilliantly in terms of driving that stuff forwards. So what are we doing next? We're not resting our laurels around this. When I took on the transformation role, I never saw it as a time-bound program. The whole point of moving to a product management approach around this is that the difference between a project and a product is products never die. It's about partnering with the business in cross-functional teams. It's about building product management capability in our world that brings together people that think about not just technology services, think about the people and process that's driving those products in the right way, that partner with the business, whether that's our operational colleagues, whether it's our commercial colleagues, whether it's our people in engineering and assets, to create cross-functional teams that stick together and stay together, that are constantly building and developing the roadmaps that are driving the business forwards in terms of taking advantage of best technology, continually improving our processes, and continually delivering best value for everybody. So the things that we're now focusing on is continuing to expand that integrated planning capability. So today we have a single plan that brings in the flight schedule, as I said before, from 360 days out right the way to the on the day of operation. We've now started feeding into that all of our rosters for all of our staff, so we're constantly optimizing our rostering and our staffing levels based on what's happening with that plan in a single place. The next step is we're just putting live, and we've started putting it live in Manchester, dynamically planning the airfield in real time. As I said before, it used to be a guy in a tower with a red book that says that EasyJet don't like parking on stand 42 because the Starbucks queue gets in the way for them. Well, now all of that's taken away. We're dynamically optimizing it in that same system that we're integrating to. And what comes next for me is starting to build in our planned and reactive maintenance schedules as well. So when we need to service the X-ray machine, we know we can't use that one today, so what impact is that going to have on the queues? Or if that X-ray machine fails, this is the next best thing that we need to do in that security hall to minimize the impact on our passenger experience. And that integrating planning capability, I'm really, really excited about. We're digitizing our airfields front to back. So these things have traditionally been the domain of the engineering teams. We'd have the runway ground lighting would be provided by one set of people, the stand turnaround equipment would be by somebody else, the radar by somebody else. The work that we're doing by productizing this is actually bringing all of that thinking together into that end-to-end process to digitize it. And that's what's going to get us our additional 15 based aircraft during our absolute busiest hour. I think today in Manchester we do about 42 movements in the peak hour off the runways, and we're going to deliver another 10 by actually digitizing this, just by creating more efficiency in terms of how do you schedule those aircraft coming in and how do you line them up in an efficient way to be able to cross the airfield without without directly queuing up. As soon as you see a queue of aircraft waiting to get on the runway, they're all burning jet fuel, they're all taking time, it's all costing them money, but it means that we're not optimizing the use of that of those runways as well. So by digitizing it, and the image that you can see of the digital twin that we're in the process of rolling out of that runway environment, will allow us to go and deliver significant value and more efficiency from the assets that we've already got. And then the last one in there is all about dynamic flow management. So this is thinking about, in the same way that we're digitizing the airfield, this is about thinking about how do we optimize that passenger flow, that passenger journey through our terminals. I've started thinking about the stream of passengers moving through, almost a little bit like a sound wave. You know, it's a constant stream of passengers coming through from the front of our facilities onto the gates and onto planes. And in parts, they bunch up, and it makes it very difficult for them to move through in terms of the experiences, because queues form, or we get busy in certain parts of the departure halls. We know that when you get to a certain occupancy level in a departure hall, no one likes standing up anymore because they worry that they're not going to get a seat. So everyone stays sticking down. Or if they're not getting the right information, everyone stands around the flight information screens trying to work out when the gate's going to open and where they need to go to. So we're starting to look at things like dynamic call to gate. So actually, when we know that the occupancy of the hall is going to get to a certain threshold, that means that the NPS scores are going to start going down, that people are going to start having a less nice time in there, that our retail yields are going to be impacted. We can start calling those passengers to gate that are the best ones to pull out of there to keep it into a pleasant environment, so that we can balance the occupancy levels in there. But in doing that, we know it might take 20 minutes after us saying it for passengers to actually notice, get their bags together, get their family together, and start moving to their gates. So because we've actually built this into a single plan that we can control our rosters, can we actually allow the queue to build up in security from what might be running at 5 minutes to 10 minutes, to just slow people down a little bit, be getting into that departure lounge, to allow it to empty out, to make sure that everyone is having the right experience. And where I was talking about that wave where it bunches up in places, it's about spreading it out so you have a nice even flow through every part of the terminal. We'd have never been able to do anything like that before with the siloed processes, with different people with different systems, without having that single visibility. And without the power of artificial intelligence to be able to really go and say, actually, we can see all this happening, and this is the best action for you to go and take, and automating that entire process. So if we can get this stuff right, you know, it's absolutely game-changing to us, and I can see a path for us to making it happen. So there are 3 of the big programs that we're really motoring on over the course of the rest of this year. I think, you know, for me, an airport is absolutely, it's a city in its own right. As a technologist, and I'm a geek at heart, you know, I get to play with, a baggage system is a manufacturing plant, a departure lounge is a shopping mall. And that's before you get to the planes and the security services and the border and all the other things in there. But it's all just a big data problem. There's many moving parts, there's many events being created. If we can harness that, if we can pull it all together and really look at how we optimize and drive it, then actually it delivers benefits for every part of the ecosystem, for ourselves in terms of revenue, for our customers in terms of the experience that they get traveling through our airports, and through our airlines in terms of the efficiency of their operations and the value that they get out of what we're doing. So, yeah, it's exciting times for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. You know, whenever I talk to Nick, I always find it just fascinating, the multitude of systems and services that are required to run an airport. And you can really see why you need artificial intelligence to create that situational awareness for the operators and to create that personalized journey. And it's not just to create the information. Nick is using artificial intelligence to automate how the systems and services can respond to things like delays and interruptions in the airport. But I love Nick's ambition to be the world's most intelligent airport. And you can see from Nick's session that they're well on their way to achieving that vision. So Mark, Nick, thank you so much for sharing how artificial intelligence is improving the travel experience. Before you go, I know everyone's really keen to rush off and book their 2-week vacation flying out of Manchester Airport in their upgraded hotel room. But before you do that, we've got 2 chalk talks this afternoon, both in the MGM Grand in here. At 1 o'clock, it's how to optimize the travel and hospitality operations with digital twins. And at 4 o'clock, how to build a digital concierge with generative AI. Please do complete the survey. It's a great way for us to understand and get feedback so we can improve. And it's also an awesome way for you to say thank you to Mark and Nick by giving them 5 stars in the response. So thank you all very much.